And welcome to the Nilvah Nexus, jamestheidolsmasher at gmail.com, and my co-host, the lovely Rosalie Jordan, everybody. We're here
Where's
at
your
a weekly
glasses?
Torah chat. Huh? Hi. How you doing?
Where's your glasses? How you doing?
She keeps me on track, is what she does. Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus. It's a weekly Torah study we do here every week on the Idol Smasher YouTube page, also on the Idol Smasher Twitter accounts. The Torah Friends podcast channel on YouTube is no longer, so we'll do it here. And you can also catch it at the Orphans of Avraham. If you're watching from the Orphans of Avraham group on Facebook, shalom, shalom, salam, and howdy. We've been doing something a little different the past few weeks, as you can see by the title. We're on Avodah Zarah. Ooh, spooky language. Actually, it's spooky religion. It's strange worship, foreign worship. We're going to go through the first chapter, at least, because we've been doing this for 6 weeks now. It's not really anything that anybody else can join in on. It's difficult to invite guests on the show when, we'd always had a more take your call, approach to folks coming on and inviting them on. A topic that's known by more people than Talmud. But this is the Jerusalem Talmud. This is Avodah Zarah means strange words under damages. There's a link in the description of the event. If you want to know where to go, we're at Sefaria.org. It's AvodahZarah.18b. So we shall begin. Let's see how things are going over here. If we got any chats, just in case people comment. Doesn't always happen, but we got to check in just in case. All right. So we're on damages. We're talking about having to bribe guards and whatnot. Let's see if I can back up here. About getting a girl out of saving a harlot, basically. Isn't that how we could put it? Having to bribe guards so that she can be saved, and dealing with Romans, and you're going to hear, just in case you hear languages like Gentiles. We're not discussing something that's just like all non-Jews that today. The world is a much more civilized place than it was in many areas of the world. It's becoming more civilized, and Muslims and Christians, unless called out by name, this would not be referring to you guys, or of course Jews. It's Avodah Zarah for Gentiles were when they were still human sacrifices and some strange goings on up in Europe and even in the Middle East and out east, further east, and some of the strange. That would probably make most people vomit today. Some of the stuff that was going on in the world, and just reading Torah. Very few foreign gods are mentioned in Torah, and the reason why everyone are mentioned. It's just so disgusting. While elements might still survive it, that stuff's gone. When you hear Gentile, it's probably not talking about you, or even for that matter. Of an argument here. Going to pick it up. We've got the other 5 up at the YouTube channel. So, I'm going to shut up now and read. And who can say that this is the case, that I will be saved by this utterance? Rabbi Meir said to him, "You will now see there are those carnivorous dogs that would devour people." Rabbi Meir took a clod of earth, threw it at them, and when they came to devour him, he said, "God of Meir, answer me." The dogs then left him alone, and after seeing this, the guard gave the daughter of Rabbi Hanina ben Teradian to Rabbi Meir. Ultimately, the matter was heard in the king's court. And the guard who was brought and taken to be hanged said, "God of Meir, answer me." And they lowered him down. They were unable to hang him. They said, "What is this?" He said to them, "This is the incident that occurred." And he proceeded to relate the entire story to them. Then, they then went and engraved an image of Rabbi Meir at the entrance of Rome, where it would be seen by everyone. And they said, "Anyone who sees a man with this face should bring him here." One day, Romans saw Rabbi Meir and ran after him, and he ran away from them and entered a brothel to hide. Some say he then escaped capture because he saw food cooked by Gentiles and dipped his finger in the food and tasted it with that of another finger, and thereby fooled them into thinking that he was eating their food, which they knew Rabbi Meir would not do. And some say that he escaped detention because Elijah came to them as a prostitute and embraced Rabbi Meir, who were chasing him, said, "Heaven forbid if this were Rabbi Meir, he would not act that manner." Rabbi Meir arose, fled, and arrived in Babylonia. The Gemara notes, there were those who say that he fled because of this incident, and there are those who say that he fled due to embarrassment from the incident involving his wife, Beruya. The sages taught with regard to one who goes to stadiums. Now we're entering another topic, picking up on it really. With regard to one who goes to stadiums where people are killed in contest with gladiators or beasts, or to a camp of besiegers where different forms of entertainment are provided for the besieging army, and he sees there the acts of the diviners and those who cast spells, or the acts of the clowns known as Bukion, or Mukion, or Mulion, or Lulion, or Belurian, or Salgurian, that is categorized as the sea of the scornful. And with regard to such places, the verse states, "Happy is the man that has not walked into the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the way of sinners, nor sat at the seat of the scornful. But this delight is in the Torah of the Lord." Psalms 1:1-2. You learn from here that these masters bring a person to dereliction of the study of Torah, since had he not sat in the seat of the scornful, he would delight in the study of Torah. Ain't that the truth, Rosalie? One of the reasons why we went off the air, went off the air and just cut ties to some folks, is because it was being involved in a lot of Noahide conversation, Ben Noach, or a garish conversation with people at one time became a very scornful matter. A lot of scorning was going on between a lot of people that I really just didn't want to be a part of. And yeah, I got to admit, I'm happier when I don't have as many friends in the community. Happy is the man who is sat at the scene of the scornful. Amen. And the Gemara raises a contradiction from another Bereisha. One is permitted to go to stadiums because he can scream and save the life of a Jew who would otherwise be killed there. And it is permitted to go to a camp of besiegers because at times one can provide for the public welfare by petitioning the besiegers and saving the residents of the town, provided that he is not counted as one of them. But if he is counted as one of them, it is prohibited. This is difficult as there is a contradiction between the statement about attending stadiums in the first Bereisha and the statement about attending stadiums in the second Bereisha, and is similarly difficult as there is a contradiction between the statement about the camp of besiegers in the first Bereisha and the statement about the camp of besiegers in the second Bereisha. The Gemara continues, granted, the apparent contradiction between one statement about a camp of besiegers and the other statement about a camp of besiegers is not difficult. Here, the first Bereisha is referring to a case where he is counted as one of them. And there, the second Bereisha is referring to a case where he is not counted as one of them. But with regard to the contradiction between the rules about attending stadiums in the first Bereisha and the ruling about attending stadiums in the second Bereisha, it is difficult. The Gemara answers, the issue is a dispute between Tanaim, that it is taught in the Bereisha, one may not go to stadiums because they are considered the seat of the scornful. and Rabbi Natan permits attending stadiums due to two reasons. One is because he can scream and save the life of someone who would otherwise be killed, and the other is because even if he cannot save a man's life, he can provide testimony that a woman's husband had died, which will enable her to marry again. The sages taught one may not go to theaters, letartiot, or circuses, ulkir kaseot, and we're not talking about Ringling Brothers, because they sacrifice offerings there to objects of idol worship. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir, and the rabbis say, it is prohibited to go to a place where they sacrifice offerings due to a suspicion of idol worship, and it is also permitted to go to a place where they do not sacrifice offerings due to it being considered the seat of the scornful. The Gemara asks, what is the practical difference between the opinion of the rabbis and that of Rabbi Meir? After all, according to both opinions, it is prohibited to attend theaters or circuses. Rabbi Hanina of Surah said, the difference between them arises in the case of one who engaged in business there. According to Rabbi Meir, the profits are forbidden as the proceeds of idol worship, as Rabbi Meir maintains that the Gentiles worship idols at theaters or churches. Conversely, according to the rabbis, the profits are forbidden only if it is established that they worshipped idols there. Moving on. Apropos to the earlier discussion of the evils of scornfulness, the Gemara cites several statements that criticize such behavior. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi taught that what is the meaning of that which is written, happy is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the way of sinners, nor in the seat of the evil. Psalms 1:1. Since he did not walk in the counsel of the wicked, how could he stand with them? Since he did not stand, how could he sit with them? And since he did not sit with them, how could he have scorned? Oh, I get it now. Okay. Oh, sitting in the seat. Okay. Since he never joined the company of the wicked, he would have no reason to be involved with them in any manner. Rather, the verse serves to say that that if he walked with the wicked, he will ultimately stand with them. And if he stood with them, he will ultimately sit in their company. And if he sat, he will ultimately scorn along with them. And if he scorned, the verse says about him, if you are wise for yourself. And if you scorn, you alone shall bear it. Proverbs 9:12. Excuse me. Rabbi Eliezer says, concerning anyone who scoffs, suffering will befall him, as it is stated. Now therefore do not be scoffers, lest your suffering be made strong. Isaiah 28:22. Similarly, Rava said to the sages who were sitting before him, please, I ask of you that you not scoff, so that suffering will not befall you. Rav Katina says, concerning anyone who scoffs, stated 5, meaning that God withdraws his providence from scoffers and does not provide for them. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, anyone who scoffs falls into Gehenna. As it is stated, a proud and haughty man, scorner is his name. He acts in arrogant wrath. Proverbs 21:24. The wrath means nothing other than Gehenna. As it is stated with regard to the day of judgment, that day is a day of wrath. Zephaniah 1:15. Rabbi Oshea says, based on the same verse, anyone who is haughty falls into Gehenna. As it is stated, a proud and haughty man, scorner is his name. He acts in arrogant wrath, Proverbs 21:24. And wrath means nothing other than Gehenna, as it is stated. The day is a day of wrath, Zephaniah 1:5. Rabbi Hanile bar Hanile. Oh, wow. Hanile bar Hanile. Okay. He says, anyone who scoffs causes extermination to be wrought upon the world, as is stated. Now, therefore, do not be scoffers, lest your suffering be made strong, for an extermination wholly determined have I heard from the Lord, the God of hosts, upon the whole land. Isaiah 28:22. Rabbi Eliezer says, scoffing is a severe sin. As at first, one is punished with suffering, and ultimately one is punished with extermination. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi taught, happy is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked. This is referring to the theaters and circuses of Gentiles. Quote, nor stood in the way of sinners. Unquote. This is referring to one who has not stood as an observer at bestial contests, quote, nor sat in the seat of the scornful, unquote. This is referring to one who has not sat in the bad company of people who engage in scoffing and jeering. Lest a person say, since I did not go to theaters and circuses and did not stand in bestial contests, I will go and indulge in sleep. The verse states, and he meditates in his law day and night. Psalms 1:2. This demonstrates that it is not suffering simply that is not sufficient simply to avoid transgressions. Rather, it is necessary to engage actively in Torah study. And Rosalie, if you want to take 19a, and it starts the subject up there. Oh, she left, and we're going to bring her.
I got knocked off.
Hi.
Hi, I got knocked off twice. So hey,
shame on them.
Yeah, so just keep an eye.
Welcome back.
I said, we're having weather up here in Michigan, and I got knocked out of the room twice. So, okay. All right, we are in 19a.
And it's at the top where the subject is. It just starts a new section,
Right.
Where it says the Gemara relates an alternative. Okay.
Okay. Happy is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the wicked. Psalms 1:1. This is referring to our father Abraham, who did not walk in the counsel of the members of the generation of the dispersion who were wicked, as it is stated that they said to each other, come, let us build a city and a tower with its top to heaven. Genesis 11:4. A project with a wicked aim, nor stood in the way of sinners. Psalm 1:1. This too is referring to Abraham, who did not join in the stand of the residents of Sodom, who were sinners, as it stated, now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners against the Lord exceedingly. Genesis 13:13. Nor sat in the seat of the scornful. Psalms 1:1. This means that Abraham did not sit in the seat of the Philistines because they were scorners who engaged in jest and buffoonery. That's a cute word. As it is stated with regard to the Philistines in the later period, and it came to pass when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, he may make us sport. Judges 16:25. The Gemara cites that the interpretation of the similar verse, happy is the man that fears the Lord, that delights greatly in his mitzvot, Psalms 112:1. The Gemara asks, is that to say happy is the man, but not happy is the woman? Why is it necessary for the verse to emphasize that this is speaking of a man? Rav says, the verse applies to both men and women, and this teaching, happy is the one who repents when he is still a man, i.e., for he becomes elderly and his strength dwindles. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, happy is the one who triumphs over his evil inclination like a man, i.e., with his strength and vigor. The verse continues, he delights greatly in his mitzvot. Rabbi Elazar says, the person who delights in his mitzvot themselves and not in the reward for performing his mitzvot. And this is the same as we learn in a Mishnah, Avot 1:3. Antigonus of Sokho would say, do not be like the servants who serve their master on the condition of receiving a reward. Rather, be like the servants who serve the master not on the condition that they receive a reward. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the verse that was discussed previously. But his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, Psalm 1:2. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says a person can learn Torah only from a place in the Torah that his heart desires, as it is stated. But his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, i.e., his delight is in the part of the Torah that he wishes to study. The Gemara relates, Levi and Rabbi Shimon, son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, were sitting before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and they were learning the Torah portion. When they finished the book that they were learning and they were ready to begin a new subject, Levi said, let them bring us the book of Proverbs. And Rabbi Shimon, son of the Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, said, let them bring us the book of Psalms. He compelled Levi to acquiesce, and they brought the book of Psalms. When they arrived here, and the verse, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi explained the verse and said, a person can learn Torah only from the place in the Torah that his heart desires. Levi said, my teacher, you have given us, i.e. me, permission to rise and leave, as I wish to study Proverbs, not Psalms. The Gemara cites other interpretations of this verse. Rabbi Avdimi Bar Hama says, with regard to anyone who engages in the study of Torah, the Holy One, blessed is he, fulfills his desires as it is stated, but in the Torah of the Lord is his delight. I.e., if one engages in the study of the Torah of the Lord, he will have his desires met by the Lord. Rava says, in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, a person should always learn Torah from a place in the Torah that his heart desires, as it is stated, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord. And Rava also says, with regard to this verse, initially the Torah is called by the name of the Holy One, blessed be he, but ultimately it is called by the name of the one who studies it. As it is first stated, his delights is in the Torah of the Lord. And in the continuation of the verse, it states, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. This teaches that through study, one acquires ownership, as it were, of the Torah. And Rava says, in reference to this verse, a person must always study Torah and gain a broad knowledge of it, and only then may he analyze and delve into it. As it is stated, his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meaning that he studies the Torah on a basic level, and only afterwards does the verse state, and in his Torah he meditates, i.e. he analyzes it. And Rava says, with regard to the Torah study, a person should always study Legiris, review, and even though he may afterward forget, and even though he does not understand what he is saying. As it is stated with regard to the study of Torah, my soul breaks for the longing that it has for your ordinances at all times. Psalms 119:20. It is written breaks, and it is not written grinds, demonstrating that the soul is satisfied with breaking apart materially on a basic level, even if it does not have the opportunity to grind and analyze it in a greater depth. Rava raises a contradiction between two verses. It is written that the Torah calls to people upon the highest places of the cities, Proverbs 9:3, and it is written far more specifically, on a seat in the highest places of the city, Proverbs 9:14. He explains, initially one who studies Torah does not have a secure place to sit, and therefore he is located merely upon the highest places. But ultimately, as he advances in his learning, he is placed on a seat of honor. The Gemara mentions a similar contradiction. It is written with regard to the Torah, in the top of high places, Proverbs 8:2, and it is written in the continuation of the verse that the Torah is by the path. This contradiction is resolved as follows. Initially, a person studies Torah in the private location in the top of high places, but ultimately he will spread his knowledge by the path in the public realm. Ula raises a contradiction with regard to the following verse. It is written, drink waters out of your own cistern, Proverbs 5:15. And it is written in the continuation of the verse, and running waters out of your own well. He explains, initially one should drink waters out of your own cistern, like a cistern that draws water into one location, learning all existing knowledge. And ultimately one can produce running waters out of your own well, i.e. original thought and innovative insights in Torah. The Gemara cites other statements relating to the Torah study. Rava says that Rav Sephora says that Rav Huna says, what is the meaning of that which is written? Wealth gotten through vanity, the hevel, shall be diminished, but he that gathers little by little shall increase. Proverbs 13:11. If a person turns his Torah into many bundles, havalot, by the studying large amounts in a short period of time without reviewing, his Torah will diminish. But if he gathers his knowledge little by little, by studying slowly and reviewing, his knowledge shall increase. Rava said, the sages know this, but nevertheless they transgress it, i.e. they fail to heed this advice. Rav Naaman bar Yitzhak says, I did this as I studied little and by little and regularly reviewed what I had learned, and my learning has, in fact, endured. Rav Shaivi said in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, what is the meaning of that which is written? The slothful man, Ramiyah, will not roast, Yaharako, his prey. Proverbs 12:27. The deceitful, the Haramai hunter, okay, i.e., the one who tricks people into believing that he has acquired vast stores of knowledge by studying new material without reviewing that which he has already learned, will not live Yerhe long, Ya'arik life. According to this interpretation, Yaharok is a combination of the words Yehi and Yaharik. And Rav Sheshet says that the verse means the opposite. The cunning hunter will roast his prey to prevent it from escaping, i.e. he reads the verse as a rhetorical question. Will not the hunter roast? Then Rav Dimi came from Eretz Israel to Babylonia. He said, this is comparable to a person who is hunting birds. If he breaks the wings of the first bird so that it will be unable to fly off, he proceeds in this manner. All of his prey will remain in his possession, but if not, they will not remain in his possession, as each bird will fly off when the next is captured. In a similar fashion, a clever student reviews that which he learns to ensure that he retains his knowledge. The Gemara returns to its interpretation of the first verse of Psalms. And he shall be like a tree planted, shatul, by the streams of water, Psalms 1:3. The students of the school of Rabbi Yanai say, the verse states that the Torah scholar is comparable to a tree that has been uprooted from its original location and replanted, shatul, somewhere else. It does not say that he is comparable to a tree that is planted, natua, and remains in one place. This teaching is that anyone who learns Torah from another teacher alone never sees a sign of blessing, as it is necessary to acquire knowledge from many teachers. Rav Hizda said to the sages who were studying with him, I wish to say something to you, but I am afraid that when then you will leave me and go. What did he wish to tell them? He wanted to say that anyone who learns Torah from one teacher alone never sees a sign of a blessing. When the students heard this, They did, in fact, leave him and went to learn from Rava. Rav Hizda said to them, what matter applies only with regard to reasoning, i.e., in order to come up with sophisticated reasoning, it is necessary to hear many different opinions. But with regard to the oral tradition itself, it is preferable to learn from one teacher so that he will not become confused with different versions of the same statement he hears from each teacher, as he will have no clear authoritative version from the source. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
Something that's different about modern religion. I think whether it doesn't matter where you're at, as in Judaism, you're encouraged to think and to explore and to question and to and to hear many different viewpoints. So what we're hearing now are
Okay,
viewpoints
to be blunt, what we're doing here, even reading the Talmud, we have our sources of people who say it. This is why we're naming the different rabbis and the different sages, because one said, and he was repeating what the one said, and he's repeating what that one said, and he's repeating what that one said. So everybody gets the credit. And so, so there's your different teachers right there too.
Yeah. So, we're on 19B. And my little girl out there is having a little time. So if you hear that in the background, she'll cool off. The Gemara continues discussing the verse cited above, streams palge of water, Psalms 1:3. Rabbi Tanhum bar Hanile. Tanhum bar Hanile says, since the root Pe Lamed Gimel can also refer to dividing, the verse is interpreted as follows. A person should always divide his years into thirds, as follows: 1/3 for the Bible, 1/3 for the Mishnah, 1/3 for the Talmud. The Gemara asks, how can one divide his life this way? Does a person know the length of his life that he can calculate how much a third will be? The Gemara answers, when we said that one should divide his time into thirds, the intention was with regard to his days, i.e., he should devote 1/3 of each day to Bible, Mishnah, and Talmud, respectively. The Gemara discusses I'm sorry? What'd you say? Oh. Okay. I thought you said something. The Gemara discusses the continuation of the verse cited above that brings forth its fruit in its season and whose leaf does not wither, Psalms 1:3. Rava says if one brings forth fruit in its season, i.e., if he acts in accordance with the precepts of Torah that he learns, then his leaf will not wither, as the Torah will sustain him. But if one does not learn with the intention that his studies should lead to action, then with regard to both the one who is taught with regard to the one who teaches, the verse states about them, not so the wicked, but they are like the chaff that wind drives away. Psalms 1:4. Rabbi Abba says that Rabbi Huna says that Rav says, what is the meaning of that which is written? For she has cast down, Hepile, many wounded, and a mighty host are all her slain. Proverbs 7:26. This is referring to a student who has not yet reached the level where he can render legal decisions, but nevertheless, he already issues decisions. He is like a fetus that emerged from the womb before its time, as the word hepila also means miscarry. And a mighty host are all her slain. This is referring to a student who has reached the level where he can render legal decisions, referred to it here as mighty host, but he does not issue decisions, and by refraining from teaching what he knows prevents the masses from learning Torah properly. And until And until when is a scholar considered too immature to render legal decisions? He is considered immature until the age of 40 years. The Gemara asks, but did I issue legal decisions before that age? The Gemara answers, there it is permitted, as in Rav's case, they are equal. If one has achieved a level of knowledge that is equivalent to that of the foremost scholar in his city, he is permitted to render decisions even before reaching the age of 40. The Gemara cites another decision with regard to the aforementioned verse, and whose leaf does not wither, Psalms 1:3. Rav Aha bar Ada says that Rav says, and some say that it was Rav Aha bar Abba, who says that Rav Hanuna says that Rav says, one should know that even the ordinary conversation of Torah scholars require analysis, as it is stated, and whose leaf does not wither. This teaches that even the ordinary conversation of a Torah scholar, which is comparable to the leaves of a tree, has great significance like the actual fruit of a tree. The verse continues, and whatsoever does and whatsoever he does, he shall prosper. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, this matter is written in Torah and repeated in the prophet, and stated in a third time in the writings. Concerning anyone who engages in Torah study, his property dealings will be successful, as it is written in the Torah. As it is written, observe therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, and you will make and you may make all do to prosper. Deuteronomy 29:8. It is repeated in the prophets, as it is written, this book of the Torah shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that it is written, all in it. For then you shall make yourselves your ways prosper, and then you shall have good success. Joshua 1:8. It is stated a third time in the writings, as it is written, but his delight is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by streams of water that brings forth its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither. And in whatsoever he does, he prosper. Psalms 1, 2 through 3. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Alexandri would proclaim in public in the manner of a merchant selling wares, who desires life? Who desires life? Everyone gathered around him to buy from him, saying to him, give us life. He stated the following verse to them. Who is the man that desires life and loves days, that he may see good in them? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking guile. Psalms 34, verse 13 through 14. The psalm continues, depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. Psalms 15. The Gemara explains, lest one say, I have kept my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking guile. I will therefore go and indulge in sleep. To counter this possibility, the verse states, depart from evil and do good, i.e., it is not enough to avoid evil, but one must actively do good. The word good means nothing other than Torah, as it is written, for I have given you a good portion, my Torah. Do not abandon it. Proverbs 4:2. The Mishnah teaches one may build with Gentiles small platforms and bathhouses, but once he reaches an arched chamber in the bath where Gentiles put up objects of idol worship, it is prohibited for a Jew to continue building it. Rabbi Elazar says that Rabbi Yochanan says that he did continue to build the arched chamber. His wages are permitted. The Gemara asks, it's obvious, after all, arched chambers are only accessories of idol worship, and with regard to accessories of idol worship, both according to Rabbi Ishmael and according to Rabbi Akiva, who disagree with regard to deriving benefit from an actual object of idol worship, 51b. Deriving benefit from accessories of idol worship is not prohibited until they are worshipped. This is brought up heavily in the Divine Code in the Sefer Sheva Mitzvot Hashem, the breaking down of Noahide law, that just because it is a likeness of a it's not technically idol until it's actually been served or bowed down to, or had the little leg shaken at it, or wherever. Seemed to be what they were saying here as well.
Well, they're building fences around fences, basically.
Mm-hmm. Where we at? Yeah. Rabbi Yamira says Rabbi Elazar's statement is necessary only to perform the wages of a Jew who built an object of idol worship itself. The Gemara asks, this works out well according to one who says the object of idol worship of a Jew is forbidden immediately once it is built. I'm going to say it again. This works out well according to the one who says the object of idol worship of a Jew is forbidden immediately once it is built. Okay, but it is not prohibited to derive benefit from an object of idol worship, a Gentile, until it is actually worshipped. In this case, the idol was built for a Gentile, and therefore the laborer may receive payment for his work, as the idol was never worshipped. But according to the one who says that an object of idol worship of a Gentile is also forbidden immediately, what can be said? Rather, Rabbi Bar says Rabbi Elazar's statement that the worker's wages are permitted is necessary only in regard to the final stroke with which the laborer completes his work. In the case of idol worship, what to be used for idol worship? Is it the completion of labor? And when is the completion of labor achieved? Hair splitting time. That's what Judaism does best. It is achieved with the final stroke of the laborer. The final stroke alone does not have the value of one peruta, and therefore the wages he receives are due to when each act of labor is performed during the entire process, not when the final stroke completes the work. Evidently, Rabbi Elazar holds that the obligation to pay a wage is incurred continuously from the beginning of the period he was hired to its end, not merely upon completion of the work. Since the worker has rights to his wages at every stage of labor performed during the entire time of work, the wages are not considered a benefit that he receives from idol worship, as the object is classified as an object of idol worship only at the very end. This is Mishnah. And one may not fashion jewelry for an object of idol worship, and this applies to jewelry such as necklaces, katlaot, nose rings, and rings. Rabbi Eliezer says, if one fashions them in exchange for payment, it is permitted. The Mishnah returns to the issue of selling items to Gentiles. One may not sell to a Gentile any item that is attached to the ground, but one may sell such an item once it is severed from the ground. Rabbi Yehuda says, it is not necessary to sever the item from the ground. Rather, one may sell it on the condition to be severed. The Gemara asks, from where is this matter that it is prohibited to sell to a Gentile anything that is attached to the ground derived? Rabbi Yehosi bar Hanina says, what Rosalie will now read.
The source, that is, the verse states, you should not show them mercy, lo tehonem, Deuteronomy 7:2, which is understood as meaning, you should not give them a chance to encamp, Hanaya, in i.e., to acquire land in Eretz Israel. The Gemara asks, this phrase, you shall not show them mercy, isn't it necessary to teach that it is what the merciful one is saying? You should not forgive, you should not give them favor by praising them? The Gemara answers, if that were so, let the verse say, Lo tehenim, with the letter Vav, as excuse me, as then it would be evident that this is a form of the root Het Vav Nun, which means favor. What is the reason that the verse instead states Lo tehanim without the letter Vav? Conclude two conclusions from it, that one may not praise them and also one may not allow them to acquire land. The Gemara asks, but still, isn't the phrase you should not show them mercy necessary to teach the halakha that this is what the merciful one states? You should not give them an undeserved gift? The Gemara answers, if that were so, let the verse say, Lo tehinam. What is the reason that it is spelled without the letter Yud, also as Lo tehonam? Learn from it all these three halakot. Reason being is that original Hebrew does not have vowels in it. And once you add vowels to the words, then you change their meanings. This is also taught in the Barisha. You should not show them mercy. This teaches that you should not give them a chance to encamp in the land of Israel. Another matter, you should not show them mercy. This indicates that you should not give them favor. And another matter, you should not show them mercy. This teaches that you should not give them an undeserved gift. The Gemara notes, this issue is an undeserved gift to a Gentile is itself a dispute between Tanaim. As it is taught in the Barisha, you shall not eat of any unslaughtered animal carcass. You may give it to the resident alien who is within your gates, i.e. the ger, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to the foreigner, the Nokri, for you are sacred people to the Lord your God. Deuteronomy 14:21.
You said the N-word. I heard it.
I did.
I know.
I have derived only. Huh?
Go ahead.
I have derived only that it is permitted to a resident alien through giving and to a Gentile through selling. From where do I derive that it is permitted to transfer an unslaughtered animal to a resident alien through spelling? The verse states, you may give it or you may sell it, meaning that one has the option to do either of these. The Barisha continues, from where is it derived that it is permitted to a Gentile through giving and one who is not required to sell to him? The verse states, you may give it, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. Therefore, you may say that he may transfer it to both a resident alien and a Gentile, both of them through giving and through selling. This is a statement of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, these matters are to be understood as they are written. One may transfer an unslaughtered animal carcass to a resident alien only through giving, and to a Gentile only through selling, as it is prohibited to give an undeserved gift to a Gentile. The Gemara comments, Rabbi Meir says that is saying, well, as the verse indicates that either method is acceptable. The Gemara explains, and Rabbi Yehuda could have said to you, if it enters your mind to understand the verse in accordance with that which Rabbi Meir says, then let the merciful one write, you may give it to the resident alien who is within your gates that he may eat it, and you may also sell it to the foreigner. Why do I need the word or between these two opinions? Options. Learn from it that it comes to teach that the matters are to be understood as they are written. The Gemara asks, and how does Rabbi Meir explain the word of this verse? Explain the wording of this verse. The Gemara answers, that word or teaches that one should give precedence to giving to a resident alien over selling to a Gentile. And Rabbi Yehuda holds that since you are commanded to sustain the resident alien, as it is stated, and he shall live with you, Leviticus 25:35. And you are not commanded to sustain a Gentile. There is no need for a verse to teach that one should give precedence to the resident alien. It is taught in the Barisha cited earlier. Another matter, you should not show them favor. This teaches that you should not give them favor by praising them. The Gemara notes that this supports the opinion of Rav. As Rav says, it is prohibited for a person to say, how beautiful is this Gentile woman? The Gemara raises an objection from the Barisha. There is an incident involving Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel, who was on the step of Temple Mount, and he saw a certain Gentile woman who was exceptionally beautiful and said, how great are your works, O Lord? Psalms 104:24. Excuse me. And Rabbi Akiva, too, when he saw the wife of the wicked Turnus Rufus, he spat, laughed, and cried. He spat as she was created from this putrid drop. He laughed as he foresaw that she was destined to convert and he would marry her. He cried as his beauty would ultimately be consumed by dirt. Wow, that's a hell of a thing to think. And how would Rav explain this incident involving Rabbi Gamaliel, who praised the beauty of a Gentile? The Gemara answers, Rabban Gamaliel was giving thanks to God for creating beautiful people rather than praising the Gentile herself. As the master said, one who sees beautiful or otherwise outstanding creatures recites, blessed be he who has created such in his world. But is it permitted to gaze upon a woman? The Gemara raises an objection from the Barisha. The verse states, and you shall keep yourself from every evil thing, Deuteronomy 23:10. This teaches that a person should not gaze upon a beautiful woman, even if she is unmarried, and a person should not gaze upon a married woman, even if she's ugly. Yeah, okay.
20b.
Yeah, we talk about your fences. No pun intended.
That came out was unexpected. And a person should gaze upon the colored garments of a woman. A person should not gaze at a male donkey, at a female donkey, at a pig, at a sow, or a owl when eating. And even if one were full of eyes like the angel of death and saw from every direction, it is not permitted to look. Darn it. Okay. They said about the angel of death that he is entirely full of eyes. When a sick person is about to die, the angel of death stands above his head with his sword drawn in his hand and a drop of poison hanging on the edge of the sword. Once the sick person sees him, he trembles and thereby opens his mouth, and the angel of death throws the drop of poison into his mouth. From this drop of poison, the sick person dies. From it, he purifies. From it, his face
putrefies.
Putrefies. Okay, he dies. From it, he putrefies. From it, his face becomes green. Let's see. I don't know that in Hebrew. I can read the consonants, but it doesn't have any vowels, so I don't know the words. The Gemara answers, Rabban Gamliel did not intentionally a woman. Rather, he was walking around a corner, and he saw her unexpectedly, and they each turned. With regard to the statement in the Bereisha, nor may one gaze at the colored garments of a woman, Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, this is the halacha even if they are spread on a wall, not only when they are being worn. Rav Papa says, and the prohibition applies only when he knows their owner. Rava said, the language of the Bereisha is also precise, as it teaches, nor may one gaze at the colored garments of a woman, and it does not teach, nor may one gaze at colored garments. Learn from it that the prohibition only applies to the garments of one he knows. Stay
out of the closets.
Rav Rav Hizda said this statement, wow, yeah. That statement applies only in the case of the old garments, i.e., garments that have been worn. But in the case of new garments, we have no problem with it. The reason is that if you do not say, so how can we give a woman's garment before it was worn to a launderer, i.e., one who prepares new garments for use, knowing that the launderer must look at the garments? Gemara refutes this proof, but according to your reasoning, your assumption that a launderer is different from all other men, there is a similar difficulty with that which Rav Yehuda says. If one wishes to mate an animal of one species with an animal of its own species, it is permitted to insert the male organ into the female like a brush into a tube. One could ask here as well, but isn't he looking at the animals as they mate? Rather, he is occupied with his work. Therefore, his mind will not entertain sinful thoughts. So too, with regard to a launderer, he is occupied with his work, and therefore a launderer differs from other men. The master said above in the Bereisha, from this drop of poison on the angel of death's sword, the sick person dies. The Gemara asks, shall we say that this opinion disagrees with the statement of Shmuel's father? As Shmuel's father says, the angel of death said to me, were I not concerned for human dignity, I would uncover the place of the incision of the slaughterer, as one does to an animal that is slaughtered. This indicates that the angel of death kills by slaughtering his victims with his sword, not poisoning them. The Gemara answers, perhaps that one drop of poison cuts the two organs that must be covered in ritual slaughter, i.e., the trachea and the esophagus, and thereby slaughters people. The Gemara notes that the continuation of the Bereisha, which states that from this drop of poison putrefies, supports the opinion of Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana, as Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana says that they say in the school of Rav, one who wishes that his dead relative will not putrefy should turn on its face immediately as the drop of poison enters through the mouth, and this causes the putrefaction of the corpse. Gemara cites another source that interprets this verse cited above. The sages taught a Bereisha explaining the verse, and you shall keep yourself from every evil thing, Deuteronomy 23:10, which is immediately followed by the verse, if there be among you any man who is not ritually pure by reason of that which happened to him by night, Deuteronomy 23:11. This teaches that a person should not think impure thoughts by day and thereby come to the impurity of an emission by night. It's stated in Torah that if you have a nocturnal emission, and you can look that up on your own, PG-13, you're ritually impure. You cannot bring an offering to the temple of any kind. And you have to do a few things and stay clean for the rest of the from here, Rabbi Pinhas ben Yair would say, Torah study leads to care in the performance of mitzvot. Care in the performance of mitzvot leads to diligence in their observance. Diligence leads to cleanliness of the soul. Cleanliness of the soul leads to abstention from all evil. Abstention evil leads to purity, and eliminate all base desires. Leads to piety. Piety leads to humility. Humility leads to fear of sin. Fear of sin leads to holiness. Holiness leads to the divine spirit. The divine spirit leads to the resurrection of, and piety is greater than all of them, as it is stated, then you did speak in a vision to your pious ones. Psalms 89:20. Lost my cursor. This statement disagrees with the opinion of Yehoshua ben Rabbi Yehoshua. Humility is greater than all of them. As it is stated, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good tidings to the humble. Isaiah 61:1. Since the pious is not stated, but rather the humble, you learn that humility is greater than all of them. Now we've reached our time, and we have many verses to go. So I think we're going to stop it here. So a subtext, a subject starts. So we'll stop here
20b12.
20.
20b12.
B 20b12. Write that down at home. All right.
Uh-huh.
I do enjoy reading this.
I know.
I don't understand how it has the reputation it does among us. Like it's some kind of devil book or something.
No, the Talmud is law.
I mean, just
it's not
read
the Zohar. This is law. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's reason, it's logic, it's practical application. It's wow, you know, it's really truly beauty of Judaism in many ways. I'm digging it. I love it. I hope you love it too. I hope you're enjoying this. For those of you who stick around to watch, we don't get a lot of viewers on this, but that's okay. We're not doing it for the views. We are doing it for you, our favorite viewer. Yes, you. Join us next week.
The glory of God.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Next week, same time, same channel, the Idol Smasher channel right here on YouTube. Also, you can at the Idol Smasher on Twitter, and the Orphans of Avraham will do a live stream. You can pick up there from my channel. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Questions, comments, compliments, complaints, suggestions. James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com. Rosalie, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you out there as well. We'll talk to you next week.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom and Shabbat. Oh, yeah, and Shabbat shalom.
And happy Thanksgiving. We will not be here next week.
Oh, that's right. Happy Thanksgiving, America. To you.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, we'll see you 2 weeks then. How's that?
Sounds like a plan.
I'll talk to you soon. All righty. Shalom.
Okay. Shalom.